So I just got back from watching both Smile 2 and Terrifier 3, and you're probably wondering why I am standing out here in the middle of the night in the wonderful wilderness of Washington State. Well, that's because those are horror movies. It is spooky season, and I want to do something a little spooky. Smile 2 is written and directed by Parker Finn and follows a hugely popular pop star, Sky Riley, as she is infected with the smile curse and she has to figure out how to stop it before the time runs out. Now, I went into this film pretty concerned actually, because while I quite enjoyed the film because it had a pretty good story and a great exploration of grief, the scares were kind of generic and it didn't really feel like it deserved a sequel. That being said, I cannot wait for Smile 3, because I absolutely adored this film. Now, what did I like about it so much? Well, I'm so glad that you asked, because there is a lot to unpack here. I think my favorite thing about the film by far is how good of a performance Naomi Scott gives. Naomi Scott is excellent as Sky Riley. She plays this deeply complicated character with a lot of layered emotions, and she sells that very well. See, Sky Riley had just returned from a one-year hiatus after a devastating car accident that killed her partner, and she spent that year, in the hospital and in rehab since she had been an active alcoholic and a substance abuser. This film really delves deep into that trauma, much like the first film. Now, this time around, it's less about the grief of somebody else dying, and while this film does explore that a bit, it's more so about the guilt of your past actions and how they affected other people and whether or not you think that you deserve everything that you still have, which is something that I can relate to on a smaller scale, I'll admit. Now, that's just the deeper stuff. Now, how is this movie on a horror level? I'm happy to announce that this film is quite terrifying. There's so many sequences that had me on the edge of my seat, biting my nails. This film also has a lot of really great jump scares. If it weren't for that one jump scare in Longlegs, I would say this has all of the best jump scares of the year. It's genuinely scary. Like, I actually jumped quite a few times and swore in the theater. It was pretty intense. The gore in this movie is also fantastic. It has a lot of great uses of practical effects, much like the first film, but also has some CGI. But I thought the CGI worked pretty well here too. This film is also greatly paced. It is a very tight 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like it. It is actively entertaining because something is always happening, whether it is going into Sky's dark backstory and her trauma, or it's, active horror stuff happening. A common complaint I've seen thrown at this movie is that too much of it is spent not in reality. And while that is fair, that's kind of the point of the movie, is that this curse is all about hallucination. It's all about getting into your head. It's all very psychological. And since it's getting to the character's head, it starts to get into your head too. It makes you really question whether or not anything that you're seeing in the movie is real. And I really enjoyed that aspect about it. The editing is also very good in this movie. It's very tense. It's also very frantic. A few things happen towards the end of the film that really had me on the edge of my seat with the way that it was edited. There's also a lot of great transitions involving upside down cameras that I thought was great. Basically, I loved everything about the movie, and it ended on such an amazing note that makes me so excited for Smile 3, if they do make it, that is. Really, I don't have any major complaints about this film. I thought it worked on every level. It was scary, it was emotional, it was entertaining, and honestly, I really loved it. I'm feeling a very strong 4.5 out of 5 on this movie. I think it's just a fantastic film with a great story, great scares, and great everything. It's one of the best horror movies of the year, and it absolutely surpassed any and all expectations that I had for it. I think it's a great horror movie, and if you like horror films, absolutely check this one out.